In 2022, the revenue from the worldwide gaming market was estimated at almost 347 billion US dollars, and the mobile gaming market by itself is estimated at 248 billion US dollars. Despite gaming being the biggest entertainment medium on this planet in terms of revenue, efforts to properly preserve the history of video gaming continue to face an everlasting challenge. So exactly how did it ever get to this point? For this video, I'll be going over a lot of information from this organization. The Electronic Software Association is sadly one of those groups that is part of a much larger issue. To give a brief summary of ESA, it's a trade association in the US that was created in April of 1994. It was under a different name called IDSA, but it was renamed to ESA on July 21st, 2003. At the time, there were debates that took place on this topic of video game violence. As a result, the ESA oversees the ESRB and also organizes E3. Anyways, in a recent hearing on the topic of game preservation, lawyer Steve Unglin was questioned on the possibility of online libraries being allowed to preserve vintage games. Steve replied, saying that there's no combination of limitations ESA members would support to provide remote access. Steve also talks about physical buildings housing collections of vintage games aren't the answer. He claims that an online archive with few restrictions would be insufficient progress when it comes to properly preserving video game history. Unfortunately, ESA has been getting a bad reputation throughout the years and it's only getting worse. In 2019, the ESA website had an unsecured list of personal information from the E3 event of 2019. More than 2,000 people were affected, mostly influencers and the press. ESA also mentions multiple times that loot boxes do not constitute gambling. There was also a video where ESA says preserving old games is illegal because it's hacking. Yeah, sure. However, during the hearing, other speakers made it clear that something has to be done to make sure game preservation can continue, regardless of the interests of ESA members and rights holders. Otherwise, gaming history is at a risk of being lost forever. I made a separate video briefly going over that. Anyways, technology lawyer Kendra Albert made the point that the ESA has thus far been unwilling to work with preservationists, with proposals apparently never enough to pacify the right holders to the games in question. Meanwhile, Video Game History Foundation Library Director Phil Salvador argued public libraries lack the money or knowledge to create meaningful collections of video games. The ESA has previously stopped attempts by the Library of Congress to create a framework for game preservation and has stated that this work is best done by the publishers. A good example is the publisher SNEG, which has been trying to preserve classic games for many years, describing how hard it is to do it all from start to finish. Having a publisher preserve games requires a lot of time and effort to do that. The film industry had the same sort of problem back then. For example, the 1933 film King Kong had a deleted scene that was never shown on the final film. Where is that deleted scene? It got trashed, destroyed, never preserved. But as time goes on, films want to be seen as a form of art, and art should be preserved. The same could be said with video games. A solution could be to have the fans help preserve the video games, but again, that's going to cost a lot of time and money to do this. As noted by GameDeveloper.com, a recent study by the Video Game History Foundation revealed that 87% of games released before 2010 are critically endangered, and over time, it's only going to get worse. For example, over time, gaming discs used for the PS1 will deteriorate over time. These discs can only last between 50 to 100 years, depending on how well you take care of it. I hate to sound like a downer, but if nothing gets done soon, then there's no way for video game preservation to take place. If you have a solution to this problem, or want to give your opinion on this topic, let me know in the comments. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this video. See you guys next time, and thanks for watching.